So good evening, dear friends. Meeting after a gap of 2 days. We were discussing regarding the first aphorism, and we are on the last part of the first aphorism since last week. That is, as it is termed, the three words which denotes the seven cardinal principles of homeopathy at the same time which denotes the Hering's law of direction of cure. Out of which we have finished with the law of similars, both the aspects. So a drug capable of producing in a healthy individual, a disease state exactly similar to that happens in a diseased individual acts as a curative agent if the disease is in a curable state. That also we have discussed. At the same time, while discussing law of similars, the nature's law of cure, that is the weaker dynamic affection is permanently extinguished in the living organism by a stronger one if latter is very similar to former in its manifestation. That also we have discussed. Then we have discussed in length the second law, law of simplex, which looks very simple but which has a lot of meaning. That also we have discussed. Giving a single simple medicine to a patient at a time is called as the law of simplex, and that also we have defined it in the previous session. The third law of minimum dose, and in order to understand law of minimum dose, we have discussed that the dose should be so minimum so as to arouse vitality in a diseased individual. That is too important to produce a curative reaction. That is what is the law of minimum dose, and that is also individualistic and varies from one individual to another individual. That also we have discussed. The fourth doctrine, that is doctrine of vital force, around which the whole homeopathy revolves, the concept of dynamics. Hahnemann introduced that in the 5th edition of Organ of Medicine. That also we have discussed in length. So in the 6th edition of Organ of Medicine, in the aphorism number 9, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann defines it: in the healthy condition of man, the spiritual vital force, the dynamics that animates the material body, rules with unbounded sway and retains all parts of the organism in an admirable harmonious vital operation as regards both sensation and function, so that our indwelling reason gifted mind can freely employ this living healthy instrument for higher purposes of our existence. That also we have discussed in length. So we have finished these 4 cardinal principles. Today we have to discuss 2 important cardinal principles. The 5th one, that is the doctrine of drug proving. This is very important because the concept was totally explained and totally different for the peoples at the Hahnemannian time. Proving the drugs on healthy human being was a new concept, and he started with it. He started it with himself. Then he has utilized it in his friends, relatives, and in this manner he started the proving the drugs. At first he started proving it in material form, and later on, when he reached to a minimum dose day by day, he reduced the material from that material medicine and gradually reaches to such a level where he can find it out in a so minimum material dose. Afterwards, his study about the physics and chemistry led him to consider the dynamic doses also. And when he started utilizing it in dynamic doses, that also when he found to be effective, then he proved the drugs in dynamic form. So this is how it has started. It has started from the material proving to the dynamic proving. And this was absolutely new to the medical fraternity. Before Hahnemann, actually there were very few medicines were available in allopathy, and whatever may be the available, they were only utilized in the animals, not on the human beings. So exact what it used to produce was not known to the people. It was used considering human as an animal, and they used to use those medicines in the human being. That was absolutely new thought for the medical fraternity. And when he started not proving it on the healthy human being, but not only on one sex, but both the sexes, on the males as well as females, he started proving it. He started recording all the things. He started recording the subjective as well as objective phenomena. What was very useful for homeopathy was the subjective phenomenon than the objective. Because objective was related with the signs which are visible to your naked eye. Generally, they are very similar in every individual. They are not the things which individualize one individual from the another individual. And when you have to treat with homeopathically, you have to individualize that individual. So in order to individualize the individual, the subjective makes the difference. And subjective data, which Hahnemann recorded, made him a very thorough understanding about the medicine. And that was unique with the homeopathy. So he started recording all the subjective data. What has happened to him? If a patient says, I got the headache after taking the dose, then he used to ask all the details, and all the details regarding the location, regarding the sensation, regarding the modality, regarding the concomitants, everything he used to write it down. And he used to write it down with date, with the timings, everything was written over there. And that's why this is something new. It was not like just looking toward the blood, looking toward the cell, looking toward the tissue, but it is something more than that, and which has a meaning. And that's what the Hahnemann has started. So this doctrine is very important. And what he says over there in this doctrine, that the drug should be proved on healthy human beings of both sexes of different ages. That is one more word which he has utilized. Different ages, because according to the age, the presentation varies. Sometimes a drug substance which is given in a dynamic dosage to the children works in a different manner. When it is given to the adults, it works in a different manner. And when medicine is used in the old people, it works in a different manner. And that those things are written in Hahnemannian provings. And that's why we have very typical futures. If you open your Borix Materia Medica and Barata cup, then you will find one sentence over there. This is the remedy which works at two extremes of ages. It is a very useful remedy when you use it in childhood at the infant level. At the same time, it is very useful in old people. This you got. This is the thing. So at a different ages, at a different places, that is also important, not in a single place, at a different times and in different potencies. So drugs should be proved on both on the healthy human beings of both sexes, different ages, different places, different times with different potencies. So this is too important. You have to get all the symptomatology. It should not be only related with the objective data or pathological change, but all the subjectives are important. And he used to write it down, each and every detail detailed by the patient. He used to write down the dreams, how was the sleep, whether there was any disturbance between of the sleep, then whether he got any specific dream, then he used to write it down, everything. And because of which we have ample data in our materia medica. If you compare this data with the allopathic drug proving, you will find there are only few sentences. Whenever you find it out, there are 2 or 3 indications and 10 to 15 contraindications, 10 to 15 side effects. And when we find it out with the homeopathic drug proving, you used to find it out only a total subjective as well as objective data. And this is unique with the homeopathy, because of which we are able to find it out a remedy for any type of case. Because patient comes to you with a typical presentation. I will share one example. That patient was brought to me around 35-40 years of age, aged lady. She was brought to me and she had a very severe pain over this, around the nose, between the around the maxilla, nose and the teeth. At the junction of that, she had a pain. And it was very severe. She was continuously moving from one doctor to another doctor since 1 month, and it was very severe heaviness she used to get. Unless and until she took the painkiller, she never got the result. And she first went to the ENT specialist. He observed, he took her X-ray, everything found to be normal. He said it is not the problem with the nose. So he said, better you consult the dentist. She went to the dentist. Again, he has taken different angles of X-ray, found it to be normal everywhere. Again, he said, there is no problem with it. There is no problem with it. Then third, he said, you better meet the neurologist. She went to neurologist. He examined, he has done the EMG nerve conduction, everything found to be a normal. And again, there was no everything normal. He said, there is no problem with it. Better you consult ENT. She said, already I had. Then he said, there is nothing wrong. You better consult the psychiatrist. Problem was she was having pain near the just maxillary junction, teeth junction and nasal junction, and it was severe heaviness. She was not able to look it down. She used to define as this is the pain, and this she was complaining, doctor, I could not sleep unless I took the antipyrate and analgesic. She was already received antibiotics full course without any result, and this is what the problem with the son. They were finding it out whether they are getting any objective data. They were not getting anything, and because of which they were not able to come to the conclusion and not able to find it out a right remedy. When such a patient comes to homeopathy, it never depends upon what is the diagnosis. What we have, there is a pain which is at the specific level, indicated with the tip of the tip of a finger, which is heaviness over there. She used to get aggravated by stooping. So it was very typical with ropey secretions from the nose. It was calibichromicum. I have given calibichromicum in high potency and asked her to meet me after a week. And after a week, when she returned, she said that after starting your medicines, I next day I feel totally better and I'm absolutely getting good sleep. I never required any type of antibiotic, analgesic, and everything worked. This is what the importance of homeopathic drug proving. We have the prescribable data or prescribing data for the patient. And this prescribing data is available only because we used to do a human proving. We get the subjective as well as objective data. And this is too important for us. So what we have to understand from this principle or doctrine of drug proving, that this doctrine of drug proving gives you a different aspect looking towards the human diseases. And that's why in the third aphorism, when he says that qualities of the homeopathic physician, he introduces he should have the knowledge of medicines at the knowledge of diseases, at the same time indication. So if you are able to come to the conclusion with diagnosis, it's okay, but it is only for the purpose of understanding prognosis. Your prescription never depends upon it. Your prescription depends upon the subjective data which you used to use over there, and that subjective data guides you towards the right remedy, and that is available with us only because of the doctrine of drug proving. Hahnemann started this. Hahnemann have given this new aspect to the proving, that is the human proving. So this is what is called as the doctrine of drug proving. Then we have to go into next, the doctrine of drug dynamization. This aspect is very important to learn. Drug proving everyone knows, but drug dynamization, lot of problems arises. What is the definition of dynamization or potentization? Anyone? Anyone knows the definition of the dynamization? You have learned it in first year when you learned the pharmacy. It is a mathematical.
Hello,
Yes.
sir. It's a mathematico-mechanical process in which the latent curative power of the drug are aroused into its active form.
Yes. This is what is the definition. It is the mathematico-mechanical process by which the medicinal properties, inherent medicinal properties of the crude drug substance are aroused into activity. The word which he has used is very important, a mathematico-mechanical process. What it means? What is mathematico-mechanical process? He has made the homeopathy most scientific, where he has used the mathematics as well as the science. Both comes over together to form it unique way of developing the potencies or making a potentization. So it is a mathematical mechanical process, means here you are using mathematics. Now there are many questions arises in students' mind, and there are many confusions are there in the students' mind. So basically we'll have first a chat and then I will let you know exactly this doctrine. My question is, which is the potency? There are three different scales. Do you know which are different scales of potentization? Which are different scales? Anyone? Which are different scales of potentization? Yes, decimal, centesimal, and LM scale, or which is called as
50 millisiemens, sir.
50 millisiemens. What do you mean by decimal?
So here the drug strength is 1/10, like 1 part of drug and 9 parts of alcohol are taken.
Yes, 1:10. Proportion is 1:10. For centesimal, it is 1:. For centesimal, what is the proportion?
200.
1 part of drug, 99 part of the alcohol.
It is not 200, it is 1:100. Centi means 100. Centi means not centimeter. It is CENTI. It is 1:100. And for 50 millisimal, what is the proportional? Anyone?
So it's 500, in which 100 parts of like 500 parts.
What is proportion? My question is, what is proportion? 1:50,000. 1:50,000. Very correct. 1:50,000. Now tell me which potency is most mild potency and which is strongest potency out of this.
50 millisimal is the mildest.
And
And centesimal is the strongest.
why?
So centesimal, as it acts on dynamic.
Centesimal acts dynamically and 50 millisimal acts materially.
नाही सर तसं नाहीये.
मग कसं आहे? कसं आहे ते सांगा. Anyone who understood it, explain. बोला. Anyone who understood this?
Sir,
बोल.
The strongest potency is 50 millisiemens and the lowest, weakest potency is decimal potency, because decimal has the maximum proportion of crude drug, while the 50 millisiemens has the least proportion and maximum dynamization, maximum potent dynamic substance.
So which is mild and which is strong?
Sir, mild is decimal and strongest is 50.
Chitrali, now understand this and make your concept clear first.
So 50 millisimal is the mildest.
We will take a simple example and then you tell me. I will let you know first. You take 1 gram of salt and put 10 drops of water in it, on it. Then again take 1 gram of salt and again put 100 drops of water. And third bottle, you take 1 gram of salt and put 50,000 drops of water. Which is concentrated? Which is
the one which contains
Which
The
is
one which contains
concentrated? Simple. 1:10 is concentrated or 1:50,000 is concentrated?
1:10.
1:10 is concentrated. Chaitrali, are you okay with this?
Yes, sir.
1:50,000 is most diluted. Am I right? Am I right? 1:50,000 is most mild. Okay. Now think about it, that if 50 millisiemel is too diluted, it becomes most mild potency in your in your scale. Most mild is the 50 millisiemel. Now question arises, which is the strongest potency, whether it is decimal or whether it is a centesimal?
It is decimal, sir.
Why?
Because here the crude substance of drug is not many times diluted.
No, you understand it clearly. One question is very clear, that the 50 millisiemel is most dilute because it is most diluted and mild. That's why it is very clear. Now question arises between decimal and centesimal. When you prepare decimal, even though you are concentrating it 1:9 or 1:10, and when you prepare centesimal, you are making a dilution of 1:100 proportion. You give 10 succussions to the decimal scale and 100 succussions to the centesimal scale. To which you are giving more energy, you are applying more energy. You are applying more energy to the decimal scale. You are applying more energy to the centesimal scale than the decimal scale. So once you apply force 100 strokes to the centesimal, it provides more energy in that as compared to the decimal. In decimal, you give only 10 strokes. The energy is comparatively very less. It is 10 times less than the centesimal. And that's why, even though decimal is concentrated, but it doesn't having a stronger action as the centesimal is having. So in your potency scale, the centesimal is the strongest because maximum energy you used to use over there. Most mild is the LM potency or 50 millisiemel because it is 1:50,000 dilution is there. And third potency, the decimal, is the medium potency. So this concept should be very clear. If you understand it, then you will understand the importance of using a LM scale. Why Hahnemann introduced the LM scale? Hahnemann first introduced the decimal. Hahnemann first introduced the decimal scale, because of which he started with doing the preparing the medicines in 1x, 2x, 3x, 6x potency. Herring was the first one who started with centesimal scale. And then in the latter phase of his life, Hahnemann introduced this 50 millisiemel scale, that is between 1833 to 1842. In between period, he came out with the 50 millisiemel scale. When you are having a patient with a pathology whose susceptibility is low, and you have to give a medicine, and you have to you want to increase his susceptibility, at the same time there is a fear in your mind that his pathology should not get aggravated. At that time, the role of LM scale or 50 millisiemel scale is very important. You go on repeating it many times, it doesn't create a direct aggravation. And that's why safest potency in the pathological cases is the LM scale. Centesimal should not be repeated frequently. Centesimal is the most strongest potency. It is a big jerk, big blow. And when you give the centesimal, there is a chance of homeopathic aggravation immediately. And that's why centesimal never requires too much of repetition. It depends upon many factors, but when you consider only on the scale, that is what is I am telling you. There are many factors which take into consideration while considering the potency. It is not a single thing on which you are going to select the potency. But when you are thinking only on the scale, then centesimal is the most strongest, because when you give centesimal, you are giving a jerk to the patient. And third potency, decimal is moderate. Biochemic remedy, generally we used to use it in decimal. And when you used to use in decimal, up to 24x, you are using semi-dynamic. Because what is the Avogadro's hypothesis? Anyone knows Avogadro's hypothesis? Sir, lecture Avogadro's hypothesis is that about 12C potency or about 24x potency, you cannot find it out the original material of the drug substance in the medicine, and that is what is called as the Avogadro's hypothesis. So if you are giving below 12C, it contains some material. If you are giving below 24x, you can giving some material, and that's why those potencies are partly material, partly dynamic. So those are semi-dynamic potencies. Above 12C, whatever may be the potency is there, it becomes totally dynamic. And if you are using the decimal scale above 24x, it becomes absolutely dynamic. So when you are using the biochemic remedy, you are using the 3x or 6x or 12x, you are utilizing the semi-dynamic doses. And that's why you get instantaneous results also with the biochemics. You have to understand why your remedy is making so much of changes, because it is acting at the molecular level. And Schussler's theory is totally dependent upon the molecular insufficiency, and it provides that sufficiency with the help of biochemics, and because of which we get a very instantaneous results when we use the biochemic remedies. So we must be very clear regarding our concepts. First thing, centesimal, you should not repeat too much. It also depends upon which medicine you are using. Second, it also depends upon how much is the action of the remedy. That also another part. But centesimal, you should be cautious while using, unless you don't, you know all the things regarding the centesimal. But when you are using the 50simal, you should be, there is no stress on your mind while using the 50 millisimal, because it will not cause any immediate aggravation with the patient. So these are the things which one must know, one must understand. And what is the doctrine of the drug dynamization? The drug dynamization doctrine is the Hahnemann have started a different method of doing a drug proving in a dynamic form, and that is what is a dynamization or potentialization is. It is a mathematico-mechanical process through which inherent medicinal properties of the crude drug substances are aroused into activity. There are two types. For the solid substances, it is called as trituration, and for liquid substances, it is called as succussion. And these two methods which he developed gave a different identity to the human to the homeopathy. And we used to start, we have started using these dynamic medicines which used to work in the same plane where the disease develops. And all homeopathic medicines always works in the dynamic diseases because they are originally dynamic in the dynamic form. And this one has to understand. So all those who are present in today's session, keep it in your mind. Most mild, safest potency is 50 millisimal scale. Most strongest potency is centesimal scale, and moderate potency is decimal scale. Whenever you have pathologies to treat, keep in your mind, think about the 50 millisimal. When you are dealing with the mentals, very specifically with a good susceptibility of the patient, good strong constitution of the patient, at that time you can think of the centesimal. And when you want instantaneous results along with that, in acute cases specifically, if there are many cases of the fever, coryza, cough, all acute, all sore throats, acute pain in abdomen, acid peptic trouble. In such types of cases, when you used to use the biochemic remedies, at that time, these should be used in decimal, which acts at the molecular level, provides very instantaneous results, and which provides the insufficiency which was there at the molecular level with the help of these molecules of the tissue salt. So these are the things should be clear in everyone's mind so that they can apply it in their practice. So concepts, if your concepts are clear regarding the potency, then you can go ahead very easily in your practice. You can think before prescribing. So, and also think what medicine you are using. If you are using deep acting medicine, any constitutional like calcarica, like lycopodium, sulfur, silicia, aurum, platina, any deep acting remedy, it should not be repeated too much. But if you are using any acute remedy like naxomica, it bears the repetition, like allium cepa, whose action is only for 1 day or 1 to 7 days. Those medicines you can repeat because their action vanishes after giving the after stopping the remedy. So you can better repeat Rustox in your practice because that has a short action. And third important thing which you have to take into consideration, when you want that aurum should be repeated or platina should be repeated, then think about the LM scale while using these constitutional remedies. You can repeat them in such types of cases. So this understanding, practical understanding of doctrine of drug dynamization is very important for us so that we can apply in our practice very clearly. So thank you being there. My question, 4 minutes are there with us. Are you happy with this timing or do you want it at 7:45? What do you feel? There, what do you feel? Because there are
As
many suggestions that you should start with the 7:45 timings. Reply
as
over
per
there.
your convenience.
Hmm. One person says it's okay. Only one vote for it.
Sir, for me it's early, but finally decision
Sir,
up to you,
continue.
your convenience, your convenient time, sir.
My convenience is at 6 o'clock. So I
Right, sir.
can
Then
finish the clinic and then I went for 7:45. I have to come again. I have to start whole process. So that is the problem.
6 o'clock is okay, sir. नंतर आम्हाला पण स्वयंपाकाला लागता येतं, सर.
आम्हाला बोलवत जा जेवायला कधीतरी.
नक्की, सर.
So we'll keep it only on 6 p.m. Those who are not able to join, they should go with the YouTube. Within 2-3 days, I will going to add the recordings. Yes, definitely, recordings are there. As the time passes, I will add, so you can go with the recording. But basically, if you are live over there, that will make the difference. That is more important. Okay.
Sir, 6:15 will be okay, sir. Little bit I have some problem. 6:15.
No, 6:15. I
6 वाजता ठीक आहे सर.
my wife, she will not take me in. If she says that you she says that you should stay over there in your clinic. Don't come to my house. This is what she says to me. Okay. So good night, and we'll meet tomorrow at the same time, and should be there 5 minutes prior so that we'll get a full time for session. And from tomorrow, very important, from tomorrow onwards, at least for 8 to 10 days, we'll have a miasm session. because it is doctrine of chronic diseases and you have to learn miasms in detail. 10 days nearly it will require to finish. So that will be a thorough understanding about the miasm I will going to share with you. So ask your friends to join, those whose concepts are not clear with the miasm. They should be there with that session so that you can learn a lot in that. Okay. Thank you very much. And
Yes.
today evening, 9 o'clock, you will have case taking. How is our case taking in our clinics? That Prerna will going to share. Please attend back.
Sir, I
because
have
she
a
will-
query, sir.
Yes, she will be going to discuss all those things with cases. So thank you, and we'll meet tomorrow.
Sir, I have a query.
You
A small
put your query on my inbox because now only for a few seconds are remaining.
Okay.
Okay.